Welcome to another edition of Interruptions. I'm your host, Otis Smith. Today, we got an NFL legend in the game out of the University of Miami. I'm talking, he was drafted in 1979, eighth overall pick by the St. Louis Cardinals at the time. If you see my backdrop, if you don't know who this is, I'm talking about Otis. We call him OJ Anderson. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Super Bowl champion, excuse me, Super Bowl
That's
champion,
all right. That's
OJ
okay.
Anderson. I grew up watching you a lot, and that's because I grew up a Washington football team fan. So I saw you because you never left the NFC East. So I,
Nope.
I, I always saw you.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I grew up. I grew up. Listen, I told Drew Pearson this. You know your brand, even though the era that you guys played in, it wasn't, you guys would call it a brand, but you know your brand when a team, you don't root for that team, but when you go outside to play throw up tackle or you playing football and you say, "Hey, I'm OJ Anderson," you be somebody else, you
There
know.
you go.
That's where you know you're a brand. Well, when the little kids don't even quote unquote root for the team, but they still know who the player is. That's when you're doing stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're right. And that's kind of how I was living in Florida. You would think I would have been a Dolphin fan, but no,
Okay.
man, I love Gale Sayers.
Oh, Miguel. Ooh, I still remember that game in the mud he
Yep.
had. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
I think we all are.
My first question for you is when you was drafted back in 1979, what was the draft like for you? Because the draft wasn't like it is today, but what was that experience or what was your draft day like?
Well, my draft day, we did it kind of at your house. You didn't go to any recording places because at the time it wasn't that big. Your local press came to your house,
Okay.
and I did it in my kitchen, and they were sitting there, and that's pretty much how it went down. It's nothing like the show you get now.
Was it because even though you said it wasn't like the show that's not elementary, was it more like, okay, well, he got drafted, that's good.
No, 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 no. It was a little bit more exciting than that because again,
Mm,
you had the local press, and the local press that cover your career as you play high school football,
sure.
college football. Um, so they were always following your career. So when you were being drafted, those same people came out to support you.
Okay.
So it wasn't like yeah, he got drafted. No, it was a big hoopla. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. I didn't know where I was going with it. I didn't know if it was like today. You know how you see some of the kids get drafted today, and it's like the whole family, the whole block feel like they didn't got drafted. Now,
Hey, when I got drafted, the whole project got drafted.
everybody like, we on now.
Yep, yep, yep. We made it. We moving on up. Jefferson all over with. It was a
You
good time. What yeah.
you were named Rookie of the Year. You went to the Pro Bowl, and then you was voted All Pro, first team All Pro your rookie year. With all those things happening for you in your rookie year, did you feel like, yeah, I belong here? I can play with these guys. Did you feel like you had arrived in?
You know when when you look at your peers, like when I was
Hmm.
at Miami, the Super Bowl was in Miami. It was the Steelers and the Cowboys.
Okay.
And during that weekend of Super Bowl, I picked up the family members and took them to the hotel. So I got a chance to see those players firsthand. And the first two games of my regular season was Cowboys followed by Steelers.
Oh,
So
wow.
I got indoctrinated early. It was incredible to see the guys that I was picking up, their family members, and the size of those guys. Like I didn't think I could play pro football because it was just it was unbelievable, just the size of those guys, and I just didn't see it. I didn't see it happening. So intimidated, yes. Totally surprised that I did what I did, yes, but it was just getting used to the speed of the game was my downfall. And once I figured that out, it was easy to go.
I hear a lot of guys say that, it's just a different speed of the game. And I hear that from guys think it's fast when they're doing preseason. They don't realize regular season, different speed. Then playoff, it's another different speed. And then when you get to the Super Bowl, the speed changes again. So, did you?
Right? Yeah.
So okay, I was going to ask you, was your experience? So each every time you move up, the game gets faster.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's amazing how, like when I was a freshman in college,
Mm-hmm.
how I try to look at it was when I was in 10th grade, I was playing against juniors and seniors.
Okay.
When I became a sophomore or junior, I was playing against seniors. So when I got into the league, that's what I started saying. Like when I saw somebody who was like a rookie outside linebacker or something like that, I'm like, I got him because I remember him, in college. So I got to be a little better than him. So every year that I was in the league,
Okay.
I felt I was catching up to the point where that my years dominated most of the players. So I figured that, because of my size and my experience, I would be better. And that's how I looked at it.
Gotcha. Now, for you, and I know you remember, I remember, so I want to get your thoughts. The NFC East, when you play St. Louis, Washington, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Eagles, man, what kind of, when you were coming in your conference, did you feel like you was happy when you went outside the conference to play? Because back in them days, man, y'all was brutal. Like every game was a rivalry. Like it wasn't no shorts.
Well, when you played against the East, you always knew you had 4 down linemen, and you had the best of the best. So when you played a Cincinnati or you played a Buffalo, you felt more superior because of what you played against in the division. Remember, we played each team twice, so that's 8 times you playing tough teams in your division, and sometimes you play back to back. And nobody was a slouch. Everybody could play. Now, everybody didn't make the Super Bowl back then. The dominant teams were Washington team and the Cowboys in our division. And we had 5 in the division at that time too.
Yep.
So the Giants and the Cowboys, I'm sorry, the Giants and the Eagles and ourselves were the 3 weakest in that group. But we played each other hard because we was in the NFC East. NFC East was the toughest division back in the day. So that's why they kind of spread it out a little bit because they needed it, because we dominated so much.
Man, listen. And it was so funny because everybody had 2 backs. Like you had Dorsett, Ron Springs, you had Stomp Mitchell. See, everybody forgets that. I ain't forgot Stomp Mitchell. And,
yes, sir.
And Washington had Joe Washington and of course Riggins.
Yep.
Then you had Wilbur Montgomery, and then you
That's
had
right.
Oliver. Oh yeah, I told you. I remember them days, man. And you guys had Roy Green. Like you guys, I forgot who I was talking to that played with the Eagles, and we talked about that Cardinals team you were on, and we all agreed to say, man, if you walked up playing the Cardinals thinking like, okay, we just played all the tough teams in this division, and you thought the Cardinals was going to be a walkover, you was about to get it handed to you. Like,
yeah, you're right about that. We played that way. You listen. We may not. Our record didn't indicate the talent level that we had, but when we line up pretty good. I don't know if we had the understanding of what it takes to be good or successful as a pro, but I think talent level, we knew how talented we were. Again, our records never indicated how good we really were because we didn't know how to win. If you don't know how to win, it's like when the Giants back in the day, it was always the Giants and the Cardinal at the bottom of the NFC East battling for last place. Well, once the Giants figured out how to win, then it was an uphill climb. And first, it started with the coaching staff. When they got Bill Parcells and they start, drafting a little differently. Because they got a guy like LT. They say, well, how you get LT? Well, you was the bottom of the pool. That's why you got LT. So you work your way up. So once they established that, then they moved on. And it's the same way in all the other teams. Once you find your identity, then you can start doing something about it. And we didn't have strong enough identity. Yeah, I was running the ball. Stunt was back there with me. Roy was on the outside. We had back in the day, we had Pat Tilley in that game. We had Mel Gray stretching it. So we had the nucleus of a good team. My rookie year, I had 4 Pro Bowlers on my offensive line.
Yeah.
So it made a difference. But again, if you're not quite sure on how to actually win, then that's the issue you're gonna have.
It's funny that you said that when you said not sure of how to win, because I've always said that Belichick, Nick Saban, and then like a Coach K, right, in college basketball, like they expect to win. They don't go in the game thinking, hoping.
That's right.
They expect to win. So to your point, if your mindset is not going in, we're going to win, but you're going there like, well, hey, if we don't make no mistakes, if we play clean, maybe we can hang around, then you kind of already at a disadvantage.
Yep, that's true. And that's kind of how we knew we were like that. We knew that, listen, if we don't do nothing stupid, we may be able to hang in there and maybe pull some out if they screw up. But we was always banking on them doing something wrong for us to win, not the fact that we were going to go out and win. But when I got to the Giants, and when I got traded in '86 to the Giants, that locker room was like, we know we can win. We know we better than everybody. And they felt when they walked on the field, they were going to win because they were Giants, and that's a heck of a different mindset when you have that kind of thought process.
When you when you're in the backfield, just before the ball is snapped, what are you looking at? Like a lot of, and the reason I asked that question is, as you know, being a running back, a lot of people think your job is so easy. Okay, you just get the ball, you just go, right? But when you're behind center and the ball is about to be snapped, what are you looking at? What are you trying to ascertain?
I'm always looking at linebackers and safety. I'm looking for movement. I'm seeing the linebackers are sliding and shifting anyways, trying to see if anybody's tipping the play, whether or not, if they slant a certain direction. I'm trying to figure out, do they know what's going on?
Okay.
And when you're looking at the linebacker, you can see everybody else moving around. You can see the safeties. If you see the safety coming up, you can see the corners. You can. There are things they do that would tip the play. So yeah.
Did you ever when you're behind the line of scrimmage and say you've been having a good game, right? Have you ever looked and said, these boys don't want none of this no more? They tired, they don't want this anymore. And I'm about to go at them. All I need is just a little daylight, and I know don't nobody want to hit me.
Oh yeah. I mean, if let's say you had you don't touch the ball about 15, 16, 17 times, and you still bringing it, and it's toward the end of the third, going to the fourth quarter, and you've been mostly picking up 5 to 7 yards. That means them defensive backs are coming up. They little shoulders ain't made that for that all day long kind of stuff. So they start making career decisions. So yeah.
That's what it's called, career decision.
Oh yeah, career decision, absolutely.
How do you feel about the game where it is now? And specifically what I mean is the rules of the game. Like, one of the rules that I really can't stand is you can't drop your full weight on the quarterback. Like, that just throws me off. I'm coming for a sack. I got to hit him and then just kind of let him fall. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what.
Yeah, listen, it'd have been hard for a lot of the legends that I play with to play in this era right now with this craziness going on. So, Yeah, it'd have been very hard because that's 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 not how we played the game growing up. I mean, the deal was to try to get your best player out of the game. We're not maliciously hurting him, but if I can get you out of the game by playing by the rules, then absolutely.
When you got traded, and you spoke on it just a little bit, when you got traded and went to the Giants, what was that transition like, where you went from the Cardinals, where you were the man, and of course Green was there, right? And now you're going into the Giants locker room, and what was, and they had Joe Morris, and now they bringing you in. What was that transition like for you?
You know what I did want to do would be a distraction, and I came in with the attitude because they were winning, and I was brought according to Parcells as an insurance policy. So the last thing I wanted to do was be a distraction. So what I did was play and stayed in my lane. I didn't do no more than what I was asked to do. If he told me he wanted me to learn fullback plays, which I did, and the reason why was he wanted to get more options out of that position. Plus, I was big enough to be a elite blocker need be with Joe Mars. So that was my attitude. I just wanted to blend in, and that's what I tried to do.
I was so mad. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was mad when you went to New York, man. I was mad because I was looking at you. I was like, man, he's supposed to be up there in DC. Yeah, I was like, that's a DC back. That's that one back counter trade. Let's go. But I knew Gerald was there at the same time.
Oh yeah,
Gerald had got up there, and I was saving this question, but I gotta go ahead and ask you, where could anybody hit you at? Because man, you with this background, man, them shoulder pad. I had this conversation with Alonzo Highsmith, and I said, the way the pads used to be back in the day, the knee pad, and if you had big thighs, you had big thigh pads, and then you had the shoulder pads. When you come seeing you come past the linebacker, there's nowhere to hit you. Is it a shoestring tackle? Like, it wasn't nowhere to hit you.
I try not to give you options. Too fast. I try not to give you options. That's one thing I tried to do. And I try to run small. Like Parcells always say, when you come through the hole, get small. So when I would run through the hole, I would definitely try to make myself appear smaller so that you had a harder radius to hit me with. And that's that's what I had to try to do.
I don't think there was nowhere to hit you at though, because you also you and Gerald, and of course Sweetness was the same way. Sweetness had the stiff arm.
Oh yeah.
You and Gerald had that forearm. You guys got, when the guy was coming up, y'all had that thing cocked like, all right, come on.
Yes, sir. Bad intention, boy. Bad intention. Yeah.
I still remember that Super Bowl against Buffalo, boy, when you broke out to the sideline, and it's like you was cocking it when he was coming. You was like,
I wanted him. I was trying to make him get a business decision again. Like I said, you have to do that. It was all about intimidation because for most of the day, we had collided. So it was easy to. When I turned the corner, I just started winding up, and you could see in his eye, he was already trying to figure out how he was gonna try to hit me. And if Cornelius Bennett wasn't trailing me, I would have scored because he didn't really tackle me. Cornelius brought me down.
That's one of those. I remember as a kid playing football, and that's one of those things used to be in my mind. The coach would yell out, "Smitty, they coming your way," and if I saw you, in my mind, I was like, "Well, he about to score," because this too much. Unless I grab him by the face mask and he go down. See, sometimes people got to understand when they say, it's a face mask. That's the only way to get some of these guys down. Like you gonna have to face mask, because one I always say hitting you, tackling you, I always say the best way is to get OJ before he gets going. Like pretty much, to be honest with you, before you get past the linebackers. If you got 2 or 3 yards, I'm like, okay, cool. You got, but if he get past the linebackers, you don't want that smoke.
Yeah. If you could get me before I got a head of steam, you had a good chance of actually bringing me down. But you got to remember, you got to be careful about how you attack me, because I did have a little wiggle in my body. If you go back and look at my film, I had a lot of wiggle. So, and if you look at a lot of my highlights, no one tackled me open field one-on-one. If you go back and look, nobody tackled me open field one-on-one. Well, and I got to that secondary defensive back, they got real nervous because they weren't sure I was going to run over them or I was going to give them what they call a stank leg and take it back from them. And so they had to always think about what they were going to do.
Well, I saw that a lot when you played with the Cardinals.
Yeah,
because what's so funny is it seemed like when you was with the Cardinals, it seemed like Stump ran harder because he was lower. His lower center of gravity was lower. So it seemed like he was the punishing back, and you were the everything. I can punish you, I can shake you, I can, and then of course when you got to the Giants, it was more just so because they had Joe for all the other stuff, and you were just bringing the force.
Yeah, well, see, what you saw, the different running back was because the different way they were taught. Like Stump ran full speed every time he got the ball to the hole.
Right.
And me, I always ran under control. I ran to the point where that I could give you something. If you watch all the Stump play, Stump hit the hole and either was there, and if it's not there, he's not going to bounce with no kind of, agility like I did. But if he hit that crease, he's going to be gone.
Yeah.
So that was the difference in our style. It was definitely that part of it.
You was more of a patient runner, waiting to see if you needed to cut or just hit the hole. I got you.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you go back and just look at my film, which I know you have done studies of.
Yeah.
You go back and look at my film, you would see that only maybe 4 guys I knew could do what I did back in the day. Marcus Allen, quite naturally, O.J. Simpson. Who else? I had to skip cut. I can't think of who else, but it's a skip cut where both of our feet are off the ground. We're leaning one way, and our feet are off the ground, and you can see us sliding. I mean, it's crazy.
I saw one other person do that, but he didn't play. He was Walter Payton's backup. Neil
Anderson.
I think it was against Miami. I forgot who. I think it was a Monday night game. I forgot. I know what you're talking about. He was headed outside, and he did a jump cut.
That's it.
Yeah, he did a jump cut, and I had never seen it the way he did it, because actually he planted both feet, and then he went the other way. Next thing I know, he went the other way. But I tell you what I miss, and I'm sure you probably missed this as well. There's no commentators, because there's only one, but there's no commentators like John Madden when you guys were playing. Man, John would talk about you. That's how I learned Stump Mitchell, the offensive line guys that you played with, because John never just focused on whoever had the ball. He would show the whole setup, but he would call the players' names.
Right. Gotcha. Well, nobody called the game like Madden anyway. So it was just something about the way he made the game sound, and it was the way that he described the game. As a fan, you totally enjoyed it because that whole concept of what John did, and that's what you loved about it.
Yeah, John was one of the best. What was your? Go ahead.
If John like you, I remember one time I was playing the Giants. I was a Cardinal, and I got one of the videos that had they had take the game,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard some people talking, and he said, well, the Cardinals are playing the Giants, and they got this guy O.J. Anderson, and I tell you, he really is fascinating back. You're not quite sure which one is coming to the game, because he can power you, he can run past you, but one thing you have to understand is that when he want to play, he's one of the best in the business. And he just one of them young up and coming run back. And I just really like the way he is with his size and everything. But I used to be how John used to describe me. Go deep.
John is man. John is the reason I tell people, all honestly, when I heard about his passing, I was saddened because John was the reason I do what I do. John, when I was getting ready to graduate high school, I wanted to be, the people tell you, I always said I wanted to be the Black John Madden. That's what I wanted to be. But I kind of, I let somebody talk me out of my dream because they we're talking about at that time how they was giving, broadcasting jobs to the athlete, right? And I ventured off in the other direction. And then next thing I know, my father-in-law, all these different people kept saying, the game, you need to be a sports analyst. So I ended up doing this podcast. But the beautiful thing about it, the podcast just morphed into something else, to where I don't just interview athletes such as yourself. So, but it was John Madden that I saw that made me want to do this. It was him. And on another note, I remember reaching out to you on Twitter. But here's the funny part. I wasn't, at that time, it was a couple of years ago, I wasn't reaching out to you for you. I was reaching out to you because I was doing sports management at the time. I was reaching out to you because I thought the kid at UCF was your son.
Oh yeah, O.J. Anderson Jr. Yeah, a lot of people thought that. Yeah.
I ended up, was recruiting him. I got him on the phone.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah, man. So I said, what kind of advice your dad gives you in running the ball? And he said, I know who you're talking about. That's not my dad.
I know, right?
I said, what? He said, nah. He said, I know who you're talking about. What? He said, man, but that's not my dad. I said, you kidding me? And it was so funny because I was hitting you on Twitter and I was like, man, what he won't respond, man? I'm trying to recruit his son. Yeah. And that's probably why you like, that's not my son. You got to.
I know. It was like, I heard about him when he was in high school. A friend of mine that lived in Jacksonville was telling me about it, and then I saw him at UCF, and they started talking about him. And I was like, wow. Then I started getting tons of calls about this kid. I'm going like, he's not my son. He's not my son. Michael Jackson. Yeah. So, yeah.
And I was shocked when I heard of his passing. I ended up having to call the guy who I was working with at the time and said, man, you remember the kid out of UC? I said, man, he was just shot and killed. And he was like, wow. And it was just so real. But I remember that was the first time I was trying to reach out to you because I thought that was your son.
Yeah, a lot of people did, unfortunately.
But tell me about my drop back here about winning that Super Bowl. What was that?
I see that.
What was? Oh yeah. That's my thing, man.
I see your drop back.
Yeah, I'm always paying homage to who I'm interviewing, man. How was that for you?
There, he's in a freeze frame.
Yeah,
there you
go. Yeah. Okay. No, I was asking, what was that like for you, having the opportunity to finally get a ring?
That's my second ring. My first ring was against I was on the Giants when they beat Denver.
So you were on those two teams?
Yeah. First, I'm the only one that scored a touchdown in each one of the Super Bowl. That's a trivia question.
So okay, so you were on the because I remember who was it? I always remember the Giants. No, that's Buffalo. I'm thinking about the missed field goal. And the defensive back Collins, his reaction of the relief that the ball didn't go through. What was that like for you winning those Super Bowls? Because what was funny is, if you remember, at that time, it was either Washington going to the Super Bowl or it was the Giants going to the Super Bowl. Y'all were taking turns.
Well, actually, it was Washington, San Fran, and us.
Yeah. I was just gonna keep
So
it in the NFC East. I was just gonna keep
yeah,
it in
right,
the
right. Yeah, it was definitely it was either Washington, San Fran, and
or the
and
Giants.
us. And yeah, those we were the three dominant teams that was doing it. Yeah.
What was
Yep.
that? What was that? What was that like when you won that? The the first one, fine, because all those years, with the Cardinals, and sometimes, I'm sure in your mind you think you may not get a chance to get one.
Well, you're right, because one of the things that Roy and I used to talk about all the time was all the players that was on our team that we felt were good players were going off to those teams, Washington, San Fran, and they were in the playoff, and they were like, we were like, are we gonna ever get a chance? Like, we used to always say that to each other, like, we're gonna ever get a chance, because we doing everything right, but we just didn't seem like we was gonna have an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then, behold, I got traded to the Giants. We go to the Super Bowl, we win, and then Parcells actually put me in to give me a chance to score, and I did. So it was, it definitely was a blessing. And his comment was, in case you never get here again, you at least have this opportunity.
Wow, and of course you got back and ended up getting another one. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah.
This one here, the second one, I had a little bit more to do with it. The first one, I had 2 carries. I had one for a touchdown and one for about 1 or 2 yards. And that's all I did on the first Super Bowl. But the second one, oh, your boy got his work on.
Oh, I watched that. I know you got your work on now. I know you got your work on. Because what was funny was, I remembered you, and I know you remember this, but I remembered you from the Cardinals, and for some reason, people thought you just popped up out of nowhere.
I know.
With the Giants. I'm like, no, that's the same guy that was with the Cardinals.
I know.
My final question for you is, how tough do you really have to be to play in the NFL?
Oh no, you gotta have a little, you gotta be willing to get your hands dirty. Definitely gotta be willing to get your hands dirty, and you gotta have a heart, because everything's not gonna go the way you expect it, and you just gotta be able to overcome some of the obstacles, especially getting hurt or getting cut or any of those kind of things. But you just gotta be, you gotta have that mindset that this is what I want to do and this is what I'm gonna do.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. I always
My
tell
pleasure,
people,
man.
I pick my guests 1 or 2 ways. Either I'm a fan or it's always somebody I want to talk to. And of course, you are both. And I would tell people, I always got to champion my dark skinned people. We got to stick together. But I would love to bring you back on the show another day. I want to, because every time I bring a guest back, I like to pair them up with someone.
Okay.
I would love to have you, Alonzo Highsmith, and Gerald Riggs.
That'd be my pleasure to talk to my 3 brothers. Highsmith and I, we Miami Kane, we Kane. So,
yeah.
And me and Gerald, we need to talk to each other quite a bit. So that'd be fine with me.
Okay, I appreciate it. Continue to stay blessed and stay safe out there, man. And we're gonna bring you back.
All right, no problem.
All right, peace out.
Yep.